So lately I have been noticing something interesting. I started seeing like textured or uneven tooling patterns in the case interiors of certain custom boards, notably the products from QK such as this NEO. Is it just lazy manufacturing, poor finishing, or is there something intentional about this? Welcome back to the channel guys, this is Scott K. So I got the latest NEO65 Core Plus from Qwertykeys and I thought, wow, this thing actually sounds great. Such an acoustically strong board without any help needed from like any foams or sound modifiers, right? So how are they doing this? Then I noticed something peculiar, a peculiar machining design they're putting into the case interior bottom. So I started to look into this and found the reasons why, and also how it contributes to make this NEO a great sounding keyboard. Do you want to know? Of course you do. Let's get started. So the NEO65 Core Plus is actually the latest 65% custom keyboard launched by Neo Studio and QK. If you recall, I covered the super premium Neo60 CU before and also the entry level brother, right? The Neo60 Core. So as you can probably tell by the name, Neo65 Core Plus is the middle child that slots between the Core and the CU. Pricing also reflects its middle child status, with the 65 CU starting at $165 and this one at $105. And while it's not a 65%, the 60 Core, it starts at a very aggressive $80. So what's the difference then, right? Instead of a full brass or like a copper bottom option on the CU and like the full aluminum construction of the Core Plus has a blend of both. Honestly, it does the middle child role thing extremely well. Of all those, sound is one of its strong suits. The Core model's full aluminum construction gave it a much more livelier, lighter sound, right? The CU's full brass lower bottom gave it a more muted, deeper sound. This Core, however, this Core Plus, gives you both. Keeps the deeper tone, yet bumps up the energy. So it's like a perfect middle ground for this middle child. And this also helps. Like I said, QK employs this uneven tooling texture finish on the lower case of the Neo65 Core Plus. If you have been watching any of my videos in the past, you will now understand that sound is a form of wave energy that travels and reflects and gets absorbed and bounces around surfaces it actually comes in contact with. When you hit a key, the energy from your finger transfers to the keycap, the switch, and creates both airborne and structure-borne sound waves. This then bounces around the inside of the case and overall, audible sound is created. Now, then what about the ridges and those bumps and textures and stuff like that? For this, you have to understand the behavior of sound waves altogether. So when sound wave travels and hits a hard reflective surface, it's going to bounce back. If this wave hits a smooth, flat reflective surface, it creates a specular reflection, reflecting the sound wave in a single direction. If the wave hits a textured or like a rough surface, it creates diffuse reflection, where the sound waves scatter and bounce in many directions. So what? Well, specular reflection, or like a single wave bounce back, it creates echoes and a strong focused reverberation. Diffuse reflection, on the other hand, it disperses the energy and creates a much more even and much less reverberant sound. Let me show you a quick demonstration, right? I can't show you sound, so I will demonstrate this with light, laser pointer. If you use a perfectly smooth surface, like a mirror or something like that, you can see that the laser propagates into a point and reflects exactly the same onto the other surface. However, if you use more like a crinkled aluminum foil, you can see how it diffuses the light everywhere. It's not a point anymore. Same thing happens with sound. So in a keyboard case, you don't really want strong echoes or uneven energy transfer. Those are the result, or those are actually the source of undesirable sounds. So the uneven surface and the regular machining that QK put into the Neo65 Core Plus, it's doing exactly that. It's creating for a much more even and less focused echoey sound. And it definitely works. Take a listen. And that sound comes from a keyboard with absolutely nothing inside. No foams, no PE sheets, nothing. Okay, so we know that the latest Neo is strong acoustically. What about everything else though? Well, why don't we look into this then? So the interesting thing about the Core Plus's case is that it's actually one piece. It's something you'd expect from a tray mount design, but it's not a tray mount. It has an aluminum shell structure with a brass weight mounted below it, right? So there's no like upper and lower case and stuff like that you take apart. It creates like a hybrid structure like this. So you'd expect from QK boards now. The finish is great. I don't think I've ever complained about that ever. I have the Mont Blanc here and it's a very nice earthy colorway. Nice weight and feel from the brass bottom as well, and the case has a lot of little details like this to add to the premiumness of this. While at first glance you may think, oh, this is a tray mount, the Core Plus actually employs something much better. Yes, the gummy O-ring mount. This type of mounting provides a nice and lively keyboard with good dampening overall and also a strong sound delivery. But if you're not a fan of this, you can also go with the more traditional silicone gasket grommets, which we have seen in a lot of other QK products as well, and some of the other stuff too. Let's take a look at the components also, shall we? If you take a look at the PCB, it's a very standard, right? NEO PCB, the white color scheme, 1.6mm thick, no flex cuts, and features hot swap sockets and no per key RGB. While you can get this in both solder as well as hot swap wireless tri-mode, the version I have is actually just the standard hot swap wired. As with most other QK stuff, the NEO65 Core Plus also has magnetic quick connectors. But take a look at this. If you go to the grommet mount, it actually mounts to the PCB, so yeah, plateless build is entirely possible. While you do have the option of 4 different plates, I do have the aluminum and the PP here. They're pretty standard overall with pretty much no flex cuts or anything fancy like that going on. Well, actually, I do take that back a little bit. The aluminum plate, it does have this little relief cut above the spacebar, which should help to isolate the spacebar a little bit better and typically reduces the force transferred into the rest of the plate. So typically results in a slightly cleaner sound. Can you tell on the sound test? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. And yes, the Core Plus, it does come with foam, right? Like standard stuff, you know, everything has it now. Fairly thin case foam you see like this, the standard foam, plate foam, right? And the famous PE sheet that's been in every keyboard now. But you know the sound test you heard? Yeah, this build has nothing in it. Let me show you. But before we go to the actual build, a quick word from our sponsor today, PCBWay. PCBWay is an online service that helps you print PCBs, do 3D printing, or even CNC machining. If you're an aspiring keyboard designer or whatever else designer, you can take your design and simply upload it to get something made quick. Or, if you have the source code for a PCB that you already have and you need a replacement, you can also get that done as well. They can handle all types of PCBs from your simple single layer designs to multi-layer stacks. Beyond PCBs, if you want to try making your own case, PCBWay can machine that as well. Now, a very exciting new service that PCBWay offers, OEM. Instead of just making a single component, you can actually task PCBWay to be an OEM manufacturer and make the whole thing. They can do anything from PCBs to CNC cases to even assembly. And using global manufacturing, they can offer very competitive prices. Is there a keyboard on the horizon? Well, check out OEM at PCBWay. Okay, for that build, I decided to go classic. So between the two, I decided to go with the aluminum plate in this situation instead of the PP. For switches, I chose a set of KeyGeek LMs. These are actually pretty deep sounding linears with a very nice and smooth feel. As you can see here, I left the case bare, and also the plate and PE foams out. For mounting, I decided to go with the gummy O-ring because, well, I reserved the grommets for something else, so that's for later, right? Since it's just a friction fit into the tray style kind of case, you can drop just the entire upper module in like this. Finally, I finished the build off with a set of Wuche pokers since I did feel that this jived pretty well with like the tannish stone color of the Mont Blanc. Overall, the build has a nice and chill look to it. Nothing too flashy, but enough to stand out a little bit at least. How about the extended sound test? Take a listen to this build. Okay, so now that we got an earful of that, let's explore one more thing. Yes, the plateless build. For this build, you will leave the plate out, hence the plateless. And since you're doing that, you can't really use the gummy O-ring, right? There's nothing for it to grab onto. Rather, so I'm going to be going with these silicone grommets. If this is a hot swap, it has enough snug friction to make this work, so I didn't have any problems. I mean, soldering would probably be best, but if you don't want to, you can get by with this. Like the O-ring, you could just drop the whole thing in like this and it'll be held by friction and these little notches. I use the same switches and keycaps to keep things even as the previous. So what's the major difference? Well, for one, the feel. The O-ring is a nice and dampened mount, but it does have much more pushback, I feel like. Probably due to the sheer size of the O-ring and just, yeah. However, the plateless grommet is such a soft mounting style, and the fact that it has no plate makes it soft. It's also very comfortable. Also the sound. Let's take a listen. You know, even just a few years ago, plateless builds were like just very quiet and subdued. Obviously, this is not that. I actually prefer this plateless build for this Neo more than the one with the plate. It sounds just so clean and it's so comfortable to type on. So what are my final thoughts? Well, besides the interesting inner case design, the NEO65 Core Plus is just an all-round great keyboard. Between the CU and the Core, I honestly think that the Core Plus is where it's at. This is like the perfect medium in the lineup. You still get like the premium feel, the weight, and the benefits of the CU, right? With like the brass lower weight there, but you retain the liveliness of the Core through the aluminum upper. It has all the necessary features you need and the mounting styles and stuff like that without anything you really don't. And finally, the optimized acoustics makes this Neo just sing such a clean song. The NEO65 Core Plus starts at $105, and adding the hot swap PCB, like the one I have, it only adds $10. So this build right here, $115, and a tremendous deal for an amazing keyboard. Honestly, QK puts out one banger after another, and I'm starting to get sick of it, but in a good way. If you want, I put the link in the below if you're interested in this keyboard. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll have more content for you in the future. Thanks.